Hello and welcome to our program. InterKorean Projects are picking up speed following the 6th summit between President Moon Jae-in and U.S. President Donald Trump and the meeting of the South Korea-U.S. Working Group on North Korea. We'll discuss the prospect of Kim's visit to Seoul and predict the timing of the second Kim-Trump meeting. But first, here is what we have for you today.
On this week's A Road to Peace, we discuss how joint efforts by South Korea and the United States are driving progress in inter-Korean projects, including railway connections. We also take a look at North Korean TV coverage on the Masingyang Ski Resort, the largest ski resort in the country. Lastly, we'll learn how Pungsan, North Korea's iconic canine breed, is bridging the gap between the two Koreas.
For today's discussion, we're joined by Dr. Go Myong-hyun, Research Fellow at the Asan Institute for Policy Studies. Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
So the two Koreas kicked off their joint on-site inspections of railways in North Korea, but they came a couple of months later than expected because of the sanctions on the North. Can you tell us more about the significance of the project?
This is clearly a very special occasion for both Koreas. It represents a reconnection of two Koreas. I mean, if division is represented by disconnection, unification is represented by connection. So it's very special in that sense. But at the more material level, this is also significant in the sense that this represents the first step of the realization of President Moon's platform of reconnecting two Korea's economies. This is actually outlined President Moon's electoral platform of the new economic map of the Korean Peninsula. This is essentially about reconnecting two Korea's economy by reconnecting the transportation links between the two Koreas, and railway is a very important component in it because unlike South Korea, North Korea relies on trains for most of its cargo transportation as well as passenger transportation. So investing in North Korea's railroad infrastructure is going to be very important in order to pull North Korea out of the economic doldrum that it's in right now.
I see. The inspection began after the U.S. expressed support for the project at the first working group meeting with South Korea on November 20th in Washington. So at this rate, do you think it will be possible to hold the groundbreaking ceremony within the year as originally planned?
Well, it's really all about what kind of groundbreaking ceremony we expect to have. If we really want to have a normal groundbreaking ceremony in which this represents the very first day of a reconstruction of building of a project, in this case reconnecting physically two railway networks between the two Koreas, I think that's not going to be feasible at this moment because of the sanctions, not just the United States but also by the United Nations. So Resolution 2397 actually forbids any type of transportation materials as well as construction materials to North Korea, unless North Korea denuclearizes. So it's going to be impossible at this point. But we can definitely have a groundbreaking ceremony. So we put emphasis on ceremony rather than groundbreaking. And that's clearly feasible within this year.
I understand. Now, there are concerns that closer inter-Korean ties would complicate South Korea-U.S. relations. But then President Moon Jae-in dispelled those concerns, saying that the administration is closely cooperating and coordinating with the U.S. government. What's your thought on this?
We will definitely hope the two governments are closely cooperating on this very important issue. But I think in reality, the true picture of what's going on between the two capitals is rather mixed. I believe we have heard definitely real noise regarding discrepancy or difference in opinion about the speed of engaging North Korea. We know for a fact that President Moon has been touring different capitals in the world, trying to garner support for lifting or relaxing sanctions currently in place against North Korea. At the same time, we know that U.S. officials have been going around the world saying how important it is to keep the sanctions in place. So clearly there's been a difference in opinion that's been manifesting themselves in public. But then on the other hand, the establishment of the working group is actually a very important step in the sense that from now on, both governments are going to commit to make sure that they approach North Korean issue from the same position. So I think from now on we'll see less discrepancy between the two governments when it comes to North Korea.
Let's talk more about the recent G20 summit in Argentina. So President Moon sat down with President Donald Trump for their sixth summit talks on the sidelines of the G20 meeting. And there, Trump expressed support for Kim Jong-un's reciprocal visit to Seoul. What does that mean? What does that message mean for the two Koreas and also for the United States?
Both leaders, actually three leaders here, like Trump, President Moon, and also Chairman Kim, are all trying to keep up the momentum of dialogue that's been going on throughout this year. And we know that the actual material negotiation regarding denuclearization is at an impasse. So I think the three leaders agree that we need to have a breakthrough, at least in a political sense or symbolic sense. So for that reason alone, I think President Trump and President Moon agreed that there's a clear need for Kim Jong-un to come to Seoul and try to keep up the momentum of dialogue.
And during that summit, President Trump wanted President Moon to deliver to Kim Jong-un that he wants to push ahead with the denuclearization talks. But at the same time, he also said that he's willing to give Kim anything he wants in return for complete denuclearization. But what exactly is Trump trying to offer here?
Well, I think there's a menu of stuff that President Trump could conceivably offer Kim at this point. But then what's really important is whether or what kind of stuff North Korea expect to get from the United States. We know from the recent statements coming out of Pyongyang that what North Korea is putting priority on is actually the relaxation of sanctions. So I think it's going to be very important for the United States to put on the table some sort of a sanctions relaxation measure in exchange for concrete denuclearization steps that North Korea should be taking from now on. So that's going to be in the areas of people-to-people exchanges, but also in expanding the scope of a humanitarian assistance, also as some sort of investment and the relaxation of export bans that's been in place against North Korea since 2016. So I think the material steps that North Korea would like to see in exchange for North Korea committing to denuclearization.
I'm curious, though, because during the Moon and Trump summit, they didn't exactly directly bring up the issue of sanctions or InterKorean projects, but obviously are very pending issues for the Korean Peninsula. Why weren't they directly brought up at the meeting? I think
there's been some confusion about what North Korea really wanted. I mean, for a while, North Korea was talking about signing the peace treaty.
Right.
It sounded like that was North Korea's top objective.
Then it turned to sanctions.
Sanctions. So, I mean, from President Trump's point of view, I think he preferred to stay ambiguous and vague at this point, to be flexible about what kind of offer could be making to North Korea in exchange for denuclearization.
I see. Now, Trump, while his return trip home, told reporters that the second Kim-Trump summit will take place next year in January or February. And he also added that about 3 locations are being considered for these summits. So in your opinion, when and where do you think the Kim-Trump summit will take place? Well,
we know that from recent pronouncements that the President Trump is meeting with Kim Jong-un, not because they're putting the last their signatures on the already agreed upon agreement, but then it's more about trying to keep the dialogue going forward. So that means that they're trying to meet in a politically neutral place, like last time in Singapore. But this time it's going to be Singapore. Maybe it's Singapore, who knows? But then I think could be. I mean, some of the locations that's been talked about last time before Singapore was revealed to be the place that the two leaders would meet. So some of those places could be like Sweden. Switzerland could be another one. I mean, the distance is definitely an issue, but we know Singapore is just as far from North Korea. I mean, it's farther away, and actually closer to North Korea than Switzerland or Sweden are. But then I think if North Korea can again borrow a long-range aircraft from China, then definitely they can make it to Europe. So that could be two of the locations could be European locations.
And Trump said that the location will be within plane distance, so it's more likely that it will be taking place in one of the Asian countries, right?
That's quite possible. And I think Moon Jae-in is definitely a candidate this time.
I see. Now, according to President Trump, the Chinese President Xi Jinping also expressed full support for the North Korea issue, and he said that he will be more involved in the denuclearization talks. But the U.S. has been blaming China for the stalled negotiations in the past. So how much do you think China will be involved, and to what extent?
Well, China would like to be involved in the ongoing process of dialogue with North Korea. That's their way of maintaining their influence in the region. and to be perceived to be influential in the region. So obviously they would like to be there, and then it doesn't really need a prodding from Trump. So in a way, like President Trump's blaming China for stalling of the negotiation was a very gratuitous, kind of a redundant kind of a gesture from Washington. That wasn't really conducive to any progress in the dialogue. But on the other hand, the affirmation from China that it's going to contribute to the dialogue is definitely a positive sign. And it also commits China to abide by the sanctions that are currently in place against North Korea.
But in more detail, what exactly can China do to bring the regime on board?
Well, China can keep the sanctions on to send a very clear signal to North Korea that the lifting of sanctions or relaxation of sanctions can only come about when North Korea commits to concrete steps towards denuclearization. So that's one action that China should maintain. But on the other side, China could also send a clear signal to North Korea that, look, there's an incentive for you guys here. If you commit to denuclearization, then China is willing to open up the border and then invest a large-scale way in North Korea. So China can do exactly what South Korea is doing right now, maintain sanctions, but at the same time, try to stay engaged with North Korea and putting the incentive on the table for North Korea to keep up its best behavior.
Now, we're all waiting for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to call the shots. Dr. Go, what do you think his next move will be on the denuclearization issue?
I think it's going to, probably we have to look forward to his New Year's speech coming up in a month's time. That was it's going to be 1 year anniversary of the major speech he made last year, which marked the change of North Korea's strategy from one of provocation to dialogue. So it's going to be very important to hear from him what kind of disposition he has towards the stalled negotiation between Washington and Pyongyang. What we really are waiting to see from North Korea is whether North Korea is going to make this very important concrete first step towards denuclearization, such as allowing inspectors into Yongbyon, the nuclear facility, or also Punggye-ri test site, or shutting down the Dongchang-ri missile test sites. So he could actually make a very public, firm commitment to that kind of step. And then that's going to mark the beginning of restarting, I would say, of the stalled negotiation between the two capitals. So I think, I'll be definitely reading very closely what Kim is going to say in his next New Year's speech.
Right, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of answers out of that speech.
Yeah.
Well, now, as always, we will watch clips from North Korea's KCTV to better understand the country's culture and society. This week's selected clips feature the Masingyong ski resorts, the largest resort in the country. Let's take a look.
수십만 평방미터의 방대한 부지에 자연과 조화되어 특색 있게 일도선 마식령 스키장에는 근로자들의 문화정서 생활을 위한 온갖 조건들이 마련되어 있으며 근 11만 미터에 달하는 각이한 지형의 스키주로와 스키를 신고 산 우로나 산 아래로 빨리 이동할 수 있는 이동삭도, 현대적인 자동 감시 체계, 눈 다짐 설비를 비롯한 스키 운동을 위한 시설들이 손색 없이 갖춰져 있습니다.
하늘을 나르는 비행사의 복장처럼 멋들어진 최상급의 운동 기재들을 갖추고 으쓱해보는 것도 스키 운동에 무엇을 더해줍니다.
위대한 대원수님들의 인민 사랑의 높은 뜻을 눈부신 현실로 펼쳐주시는 경애하는 원수님 계시어 온 세상이 부럽도록 우리 민 모두가 마음껏 향유하는 대중체육 스키 운동.
저 은빛 주로에 넘치는 기쁨과 낭만에 젊음으로 약동하는 내 조국의 밝은 미래가 비꼈는가. 온몸에 넘쳐나는 슬기와 용맹은 비약하는 조국의 기상으로 용서숨치거니 우리 모두 스키바람 속에 몸과 마음을 더욱 튼튼히 다져 사회주의 건설에 적극 이바지해 나아갑시다.
So North Korea is much more mountainous than the South, so it's actually no surprise that skiing is a very popular sport. And the video that we just saw even used the term mass sports. What were your thoughts on this video?
Well, clearly, ski or any kind of winter sports apparently is very much preferred by Kim Jong-un, who spent some time in Switzerland. So he tried to bring in this Europeanness to North Korea for a while, ever since he became the leader of the country. And then Masikryong ski resort itself has been a pet project by Kim. So in a way, I think the news clip showcases what Kim Jong-un is trying to do for the country. He's trying to imbue the country with a sense of sophistication, and the fact that North Korea is becoming more like advanced and developed, like a developed European country such as Switzerland. So he's trying to bring up the level of, but not just sports, but all different areas of North Korean society. And this is a clear example of one of his actually preferences in that regard.
And it's also another proof that shows how big of a sports fan Kim Jong-un is. So the Masikryong ski resort actually attracts a lot of tourists, even from Northern Europe. Do you think it's kind of aimed at bringing more foreign currency from outside the country?
Well, clearly tourism is going to be a very important strategic industry for North Korea to gain more foreign currency. We know that the Masikryong is not just one project to generate more foreign currency. There's another tourism project apparently in Wonsan, nearby Masikryong. So tourism is actually preferred by North Korea because it allows the country to gain a lot of foreign currency without exposing the bulk of its population to foreign influence. Because a foreign tourists will come into the country, take the shuttle to the ski resort in this case, stay there without having much contact with the North Korean society. So in that sense, it allows North Korea to expose the society to the international community in a measured, controlled way. So I think that's the reason why North Korea would like to invest a lot more in tourism industry from now on.
Now that we were watching a clip from KCTV, we heard that Lee Chun-hee, the face of the regime, North Korean regime for more than almost 50 years, and also the most famous TV presenter in the North, is going to retire from KCTV. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Lee Chun-hee as a person is a great person, but then she's been, in a way, irrevocably tied to the image of belligerence and provocation by North Korea because she's been the face of such announcement for decades. So I think for Kim Jong-un, who understands the importance of the media and image and perception, I think he would like to change the face of the North Korean propaganda by putting probably a softer angle to it. Lee Chun-hee represents the old days of North Korea when North Korea was belligerent, carrying on provocations. And then conceivably the new face in North Korea is going to be softer, more engaging with the international community, and also soft. So probably that's the reason why she's retiring right now.
Well, for us who've been watching KCTV clips for a while now, it's going to be so awkward, and it's not going to be the same without Lee Chun-hee in the show. So it's a very big change for us.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And moving on, go up further north from Masikryong ski resort, and you will come across Pungsan, a town in Hamgyeongnam-do province that is home to the Pungsan dog. The iconic Korean breed is known for its ferocity. Here's more on the story.
North Korea sent Pungsan dogs to South Korea following the 2018 InterKorean Summit held in Pyongyang. The Pungsan is North Korea's official dog breed indigenous to its namesake town in Hamgyeongnam-do province. We take a close look at the iconic Korean breed known for its loyalty and ferocity. On September 27th, Cheongwade welcomed a pair of special guests from the north. The Pungsan pups, named Songgang and Gomi, were offered as a gift by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at the Pyongyang InterKorean Summit. The puppies had their pet health certificates present as they arrived at the presidential office. And joined the other first pets, including President Moon's own Pungsan Maru. This isn't the first time dogs were sent from the north as a symbol of goodwill. In 2000, former North Korean leader Kim Jong-il sent 2 Pungsan dogs to then South Korean President Kim Dae-jung, who reciprocated with Jindo dogs native to South Korea.
김대중 대통령 시절에 우리나라 진돗개도 나중에 보내드렸어요. 그리고 또 풍산개도 선물 받고 그렇게 가지고 서울 대공원에서 키우고 그랬는데 이번에 이제 문재인 대통령 북한 가셔가지고 이 풍산개 선물 받아 오신 거죠.
The Pungsan breed is a hunting dog originating from Pungsan-gun County in the Gema Plateau, a town which formerly fell under Hamgyeongnam-do Province but now is part of Yanggangdo Province.
이 훌륭한 사냥개가 어떤 개일까 해가지고 그 개를 선정했던 것이 바로 풍산개였고 그 개를 계속적으로 번식시키고 보존하고 계속 관리를 해가지고 오늘날 이 훌륭한 풍산개가 된 겁니다.
In North Korea, the breed was declared a national treasure in 1956 and designated as the national dog breed in 2014 by Kim Jong-un. Since the designation, preservation and breeding efforts have been underway.
축산학 연구소가 있습니다. 그래서 그 연구소가 주체가 돼가지고 풍산개들을 컨테스트를 하는 거죠. 그래서 지난 17년에는 이 150마리 정도의 풍산개가 모여가지고 이 자기들의 뽐내고 거기에서 유능한 개를 선발하는 그런 대회도 가졌습니다.
Dubbed a ferocious tiger hunter, Pungsans are tough due to their origins in the mountainous terrain, but they are loyal companions to their owners. Pungsans have become a popular breed in South Korea since their introduction to the country in the early 1990s via China after the two countries established diplomatic relations.
아주 우수한 풍산개가 많이 들어와가지고 요즘에 그 국내에 풍산개, 좋은 우량 풍산개가 보급이 되고 있고 번식되고 있습니다.
Nested in the pristine village in Ansong, Gyeonggi-do Province, is a Pungsan dog theme park, which was built in 2004 as part of South Korea's rural development program. 25 years ago, Lee Gi-un, a village head, was given 5 Pungsan dogs by a friend. What began as a personal hobby has turned into a park dedicated to some hundreds of Pungsans.
이제 풍산개가 남한에서는 최고 많은 마을이었었죠. 그래서 이제 풍산개가 테마로 되고 그걸로 인한 도농 교류가 활발히 지금 이루어지고 있죠.
The theme park's most popular program is a 2-hour playtime with Pungsan.
애교가 많고 그냥 사람한테 정이 많아요. 정이 많고 그리고 사람한테 전혀 해코지 않은 온순한 견종. 네, 온순한 견종이고 그리고
Visitors soon fall in love with a gentle and sweet canine friend.
다녀오시면 되겠습니다.
저 원래 강아지 너무 좋아해가지고 그냥 너무 좋은데 그냥 마냥.
It easily bonds with people and is fiercely loyal and protective of the owner.
사람을 좀 잘 안 물더라고요. 강아지가 얘가 좀 낯을 좀 안 가리는 것 같고.
The public's interest in the North Korean breed has spiked in recent months thanks to President Moon's Pungsan dog Maru and his new furry friends.
얼마 전에 또 청와대에 이렇게 들어오면서 또 더 많은 관심을 갖는 국민들이 풍산개에 대한 관심을 많이 갖는 이런 계기가 된 것 같습니다.
In the meantime, Komi gave birth to 6 puppies last month, and Cheongwade released a video of President Moon affectionately holding one of them. Moon tweeted this was a great fortune as 6 were added to the 2 given as a gift, adding he hopes inter-Korean affairs will be like this. Pungsan dogs, a fearless big game hunter from the Gema Plateau, now serves as a symbol of peace on the Korean peninsula.
It's good to see the North Korean official state dog breed is being well loved in the south. And I hear that the Pungsan dogs in Cheongwade are actually registered as state property.
Well, that's it was a special gift from Kim Jong-un himself. So it's obviously important for the Blue House to signal how much importance it is attaching to the gift, official gift from North Korea. So, but then at the same time, it represents the symbol of people-to-people exchange between. I mean, it's kind of strange to put it that way because they represent dogs. But then, in a way, I mean, it represents the importance of social exchange between the two Koreas. And because, like sports, exchanging pets probably represents one of the most pure and innocent, purest of social exchange that there can be between the two people.
Especially because pets are also conceived as family in most countries,
That's
also
right.
in South
Yeah.
Korea. Well, Dr. Go, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
With my pleasure.
Thank you. The degree of resemblance between the Jindu dog originating from the south and the Pungsan dog from the north tells us a lot about the similarities between the two Koreas. And this is all we have for you today. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.